Greetings, Glitter Gang, and welcome back to Kathryn Scraps Live. This is Thursday, September 15th. This is part 2 of that show. We just finished making the first insert for the front pocket of the Christmas in July album. So by front pocket, I mean the front pocket of the large pages. Okay, so we've done the back pockets of all the large pages. Now we're working on the front. So that's what I'm talking about there. And we have done the large insert. Now we're going to kind of work on a medium insert, and then we'll work on a small insert so that they each have 3 inserts, and then you have a few different things to play with. Okay, so now for the medium insert, I think here what we'll do is, well, all right, so maybe something like okay, what if we did 2 4x4 photos, and then like there's a hinge here and a hinge here, so that they were then over something that held 2 4x4 photos. And then on the side, we made almost like an envelope flap looking thing to hold it all shut. So we would need, let's see, 2 pieces that were 4.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches long. That's this one and this one. And then we would need 1 piece that was 4.5 inches wide but 9 inches long. And then we would need for that closure piece, let's make it 2, we'll make it 7. All right, so we'll make it 7 inches long, so it's like an inch shorter on the top and the bottom. And then, but how wide? 2 inches, 3 inches? Let's make it 2 inches. So, but to make it 2 inches, we have to make it 3 inches, so it has something to hook onto. So those will be 3 by 7. And let's make it 3.5 by 7. So they'll be 2.5 inches. All right. Okay. So those are our pieces. So now what I have to do is I have to figure out, I'm going to go to my scraps because, again, do I have an infinite supply of this green cardstock? No, I do not. No, I do not. Okay. So the 4.5 inch by 5.5 inch pieces I can get out of these, at least some of them. And again, it's not 2. We're making 3 of these. So technically I need 6 of these, 3 of these, and 3 of these. Okay. Let's, if we can, get them all out of scraps. Okay. So again, this is insert number 2. This is the Mama Bear insert. All right. Now, oh, I have some photos. So we do have some of the horror, not nearly enough. We're going to need more, but okay. All right, so let's see. Let me get my green scraps. And these are, I have 3 of these. And they are, let's see, 7.5, and they're not quite 3.5, but they're close enough that I can make them work. So I've got those 3. That's fine. And then for the 4.5 by 9, that's going to have to come from something large like this. I only have 2 of these though. So maybe not. And then none of these are big enough to be 4.5 by 5.5. So I think the 4.5, and I can't get 6 4.5 by 5.5 out of these either. So we are going to have to cut. We are going to have to cut. So I think if I cut, ooh, we are running. I mean, look, we have one sheet of paper left after this. Well, and then the one that's in here. Okay, so from these, I'm going to cut the 4.5 inch by 9 inch piece. Okay, I'm going to cut the 4.5 inch by 9 inch piece. And then I'm going to cut, I'm going to probably be able to get some of the other bits. All right, let's think about the most efficient way to do this. I'm going to cut these down to 4.5 by 9. And let's start there. Okay. All right, so we've got 2 of the 3 4.5 by 9 inch pieces and some scraps. The scraps in the scrap bag. All right, now from these we need 4.5 by, we need to get 6 4.5 by 5.5. We can only get 4 per sheet. Which is really frustrating. But that's just because they're 4.5, and that just is, it just is what it is. So to get all 6, we're gonna need, well, actually, I could just add hinges onto these, right? Paper hinges. So I'll cut 4 out of this one, and then I'll add paper hinges onto 2 of these to get the last 2. And then I don't have to break all the way. Okay, I was able to smarten up my brain. Okay, so, man, we are really hoarding paper now. We are really hoarding paper now. Okay, so I'm going to cut 4 4.5 inch by 5.5 inch pieces out of that. 2 of these I'm going to cut to 4.5 by 4.5, and then I'm going to make from these scraps 2 4.5 inch hinges. So, okay, that'll be that. All right, all right. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Actually. All right, so, and we'll still have 3 real sheets of 12 by 12 spruce, and then the one 12 by 12 that I made from scraps. Okay. All right, so these are going to cut to 4.5, 4.5. All right, I'll be right back. Let me make those cuts, and then I'll be right back. Shoot. All right, I have made a boo-boo. These I was supposed to cut to 5.5, so I have to stick them back together. Now, if you don't want to have to be this stingy with cardstock, you know, choose a color that you have more than 25 sheets of for your base, for your colors. You could totally make this with black. It would be striking. You can make it with gray, you know. It doesn't have to be red and green like I've done. All right, so here's two 4.5 by 5.5. And here's two more 4.5 by 5.5. And then just gonna make sure that these are 4.5 square, which they are. And then I'm gonna cut these strips in half. Okay. So those we'll have to put together, but you know, we can do that. We can absolutely do that. Okay. All right, so all right. So with these that are 4.5 by 5.5, we're going to score all of these on the 5.5 inch side at 4.5. And then the flaps will score in half and use to turn these into the same size pieces. Okay. And then the other pieces we need to score are the 7.5 inch pieces. I'm going to cut these down to 7 first because we did want them to be 7. And they're just a little bit bigger. Okay, so these 7.5 inch pieces we're going to cut. They're 7.5 inch by 3.5 inch. Theoretically, mine are actually not, but I'm going to cut them. No, I'm going to score them at 2. I'm changing it back to 3. 7 by 3, score at 2. I think 2.5 would be too large. Okay. All right, then what we're going to do is start kind of taking a look at how these would be put together. So, all right, these pieces are going to be how they're held shut. We're going to put a magnet on each side, and then there'll be a corresponding magnet on each of these flaps. Okay, so that's how they're going to hold the thing shut. Now, if you don't want to use a magnet, a closure you could use is the sliding circle thing from the Quick and Easy album. The Quick and Easy, what's it called? The Quick and Easy, what we used for the Christmas last year, as well as for the giant memory box thing. Let me get the name of that tutorial. It's escaping my brain right now. And I'll put a link in the video description. In the chat, I mean. But you would be in the manuals and videos section of the shop on kathrynscraps.com. It's the Quick and Easy Fold Pocket Album Basics. The Quick and Easy Fold Pocket. That's what it is. The Quick and Easy Fold Pocket. So I'm going to put a link in the video description. This album has quite a few videos that go with it. So it's $9.95, and it's got 2 projects. So it's got one where it's just a square, and that's the Christmas album. And again, it's like this. It's live classes where I talk through the process, show you how to decorate everything, etc. And again, it was from Christmas last year. The Quick and Easy Fold Pocket album. But we also made a gigantic, and I do mean gigantic, memory album, family album. So we made 2 projects from this, and they are this one. Actually, here it is. So here it is. And when I say the closure from this, there's a way to take 2 flaps and make a slider that will hold them shut, and that's part of the tutorial for this. But this is the album from last year. Okay, and then it's got stacked pocket where you've got room for all your goodies. So this is one of the examples that we did for that tutorial, but to show you how to kind of think outside the box with some of these tutorials and album basics guides, I used the same album basics guide to make this one. So you twist this, okay, and it's the same album basics guide. You can make both of them from the same thing. So, so here's that slider again. Okay, so one thing you can do just to keep in mind with the album basics guides is, I always say this, that the album basics guides are meant to be blueprints that you then kind of like transform. They're components. They teach you components. Okay, sorry, one of the pages was just like refusing to be unstuck. This is a quilted page. The tutorial videos have everything that you need to make this. So you can make either of them. So they're from the same tutorial. So there's this one and this one. These are both part of the Quick and Easy Fold album. Okay, so that's at kathrynscraps.com. Go to the shop, click shop, and then in the manuals and videos section, you'll see the Quick and Easy Fold album, which you can use to make either or both of these. So if you want a Christmas project that's quicker and easier than this one, then, go with that one. Go with that one. Okay. All right, so now we need to take these 2 and turn them into these, because we need 6 of them. So I need to get my 2 little, here they are, my 2 little flaps. And all right. All right, so now these have a flap as well, and they can be hooked over just the same as these other ones. All right, so now we've got all those. So these now, what I want to do is I want to kind of envelope these. And so a way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to just kind of angle these corners. Paper jam, really? You've been doing so well, printer. Okay. All right, I'm just clearing the paper jam so I can start the paper printing again. And we are getting to the end of printing the additional sheets, so I will be able to print photo mats before tonight's show. Okay, so for these, what I'm going to do is just with a pencil, I'm going to draw a line a 1/2 inch in from each edge. And I don't even have to draw like that much of a line. I just need, this is a pen, not a pencil. I just need enough that I can see it. So just a little tick here at the bottom is fine. And on both sides. Okay. All right, so you can see I've drawn that. So now I'm going to draw a line that connects this tick mark to this score line, okay? And the easiest way to do that is to put them on the same line on your desk. So I'm going to line up this tick mark and this score line, and then I can just come around with the ruler and line the ruler up with the same line they're lined up with. And you could mark it with a pencil and cut it. I'm just going to slice it off. Do it again. All right. Here we go. So now that I have one of them done, I'm just gonna use that as a template. And I'm gonna be really lazy. And I'm just going to line them up with each other and cut with scissors. All right, so those are now angled. Okay, so how is this going to be assembled? All right, so we are going to hook this over there. One of these is crooked. I'll straighten it up after. Or not, I was just hallucinating, it's fine. All right, so I'm gonna put, and you see how there's a gap between those? That's where you would put that slider thing from the other project if you so desired. And then this is gonna come along and close it up. So we're gonna put magnet here, and that's what's gonna keep these flaps from like getting flap around and caught on stuff, okay? So that's the assemblage. So what I'm gonna do now is, start putting those together. So on all 6 of these and all 3 of these, the tape goes on this underside so that when it's folded over, the tape's on the inside. Okay, that's where the tape goes. And I'm going to do 2 3/8 inch lines of Miracle tape. So all right. Okay, with me so far, hopefully. Hopefully you are all with me so far. Okay. All right, so let's start taping. All right. All right, so I'm just doing a tape bracelet. Oh, goodness. It's like I don't know how to craft anymore without a cat running around trying to wreck my stuff. All right, so this one is gonna, it cannot be part of the tape bracelet because it's slightly smaller than the others. All right. And remember, keep the tape about 1/16 of an inch away from the score line. You don't want it touching the score line on these. Okay. Don't want it touching the score line on these. Okay. And then this one we'll just do by itself. Now, see that this one is shorter. Remember I said I couldn't put this one in the tape bracelet because it was shorter? This is why I always say when you're scoring, you score the measurement you want your mat to be and not the measurement you want your flap to be. So what I mean by that is this is 5.5 inches and I told you to score at 4.5, not at 1, right? And the reason I tell you to score 4.5 is so that you will definitely, this piece will be 4.5 inches no matter what. So this piece will be the same size as this, same size as this, same size as this, same size as this. They're all the same exact size. Those are the parts that matter more in terms of things fitting together and what have you. This flap is more like 7/8 of an inch. If I had scored this at 1 inch, then this would be short. I don't want this to be short. That's why I always do the scores that way. Okay, so I don't score at, like, you know, if I want 1 inch flaps, I don't score at 1 inch, and that is why. So this way I preserve this the same size, the size that I wanted, and then the shortfall is on the flap. That's where I want the shortfall to be if there is going to be a shortfall. Does that make sense? So that's why I tell you to score that way. And that's why I give my scoring measurements that way. Okay? So score for your mat, not your flap. Okay? Score for your mat, not your flap. All right. Okay, so burnish. And then we will cut them apart and start assembly. Okay, so we've got those 3 ready to go. Okay. All right, so now we're ready to assemble. Did I only make 2 of those? Where's the 3rd one? I guess I did only make 2 of those. All right. All right, I'll make the last one out of the Franken paper. 4.5 by 9. Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do now is hook these over. And so I'm just gonna I slide them onto the score line, slide it over till the edges match, and then press, and then burnish, okay? And then do that on the other side. Okay. Now this one is very kind of floppy and wild. Once we add the pattern paper to the back and add the thing to the side, that's going to help a lot with stiffening it up. So it's not a total disaster at this point. So it'll be, by the time it's done, it won't be any floppier than the others because it'll be reinforced by pattern paper and such. All right. Okay, so where are the magnets going to go? The magnets are going to go here and here. So let me get a new pack of glue dots. We're going to need 6 magnets, and we're going to need 6 tin caps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and get a sheet of these. We're also going to need our 1/8 inch tape as well. And my 1/8 inch tape is always stuck to the bottom of my 2-inch tape. Oh man, my printer's tired. It's clearly had enough. Another jam. Ugh. You're almost done, printer. You're almost done. I promise your suffering is nearly at an end. You just have to make it through a few more sheets. I know you think I'm lying, but I swear I'm not lying. Although that's probably something a liar would say. So I guess you're just going to have to trust me. All right. It jammed again. I think it needs to cool down. So I'm just going to let it sit and deal with it at the end of the show. Okay. All right. So all right, and then I'm going to put ATG on 2 of these rounds. And then we're going to carefully flatten this. And then we'll just have to be careful when we place our photo mats that we place them like right on the edge of that magnet. And okay. All right, so that's how it's going to close together. And sometimes this happens with the 1/8 inch. It loses its cardboard. I think the cardboard's just too thin. Okay. All right, next one. Okay. So obviously the printer did not trust me, you know. I think that's clear. It was like, I don't believe my suffering's almost at an end. All right, so with this, the way that you can get it lined up is just with the 2 flaps on the back. Just center it between the 2 flaps on the back. And then I'm going to put this farther in. So I'm going to make sure I see like a 1/2 inch if I see a 1/2 inch between the edge of the metal and the edge of this, then I know that the metal will be at least a 1/2 inch in, and then I won't have to be as careful with my photo mat placement. So that's what I want. All right. There we go. Second one done. All right. Last one. Okay, put it together. On go. There we go. So go ahead and burnish, burnish. Then slide this one on, and again, you can just center it between the other two flaps. Okay. And then add your magnets. Okay. And then add your tin caps. All right, and then tape everybody. And last one is finished. All right, so these are now done and ready to be matted. So we've got Papa Bear and Mama Bear done. Okay, so let me just, the printer has put itself to sleep. So I'm going to see if I can try and print the last couple pages. Since it's gone to sleep, maybe it'll forget what I did to it. My goodness. All right. Yep. After its little nap, it's feeling much better. Okay. All right. So now we just have to design a baby bear. So we've got Papa Bear. This is a big mat. We've got Mama Bear, which is this medium-sized mat. And now we just need some kind of tiny mat. And I'm thinking something that wouldn't hold a photo. So that would be unexpected, right? So maybe something just for notes. All right. So I'm thinking something 3.5 inches by 7. Okay. And like a tag. So 3.5 inch by 7 tags. So we would need 3 pieces that are 3.5 inches by 7. A good tag ratio is for it to be twice as long as it is wide. That's very pleasing to the eye. So if you do 7, you would do 3.5. That's just how you would decide. And then we need 3 that are 3.5 by 8, so that they have a flap to fold over to the back. And then we'll cut them like a tag and make them little journaling spots. That's what they'll be. All right, so these should be pretty easy to make. Let's see what we can do with scraps. Certainly we can use this. This is 3 inches. We don't have any scraps big enough, I don't think. So we're gonna have to make some cuts. Well, let's see what we can do. This is, we'll make some Franken paper, because I really can't be just willy-nilly using paper at this point. And once you cover these with paper and do all that, it's really not a big deal. This tape, you don't really see it. And if it bothers you, like if you just can't stand it, you can always cut it where it's showing. So you can run your knife lightly along the side of, lightly along the side of the piece. Okay, so this is 6.5, so we can just add a little bit here to get to 7. Okay, so there's 2, and then this is big enough, so it's just not wide enough. And again, you can save yourself from having to deal with this by just buying the appropriate amount of paper. So this isn't necessary, but you know, it is what it is for my situation. And then these pieces, hopefully, okay, these are big enough so I can get my other 3 out of here. So these I'll cut down first. Okay, so these 3 are 3.5 by 7. All right, so now we have to just make sure that these are big enough to get 3.5 by 8s. And so we'll just extend them as needed. Okay. By the way, you know, this, just consider this a tutorial on what to do if you run out of cardstock halfway through a project. This is just more tips and tricks. Okay, that one's big enough. This one is not. This one needs to be extended a little bit more. This one's big enough. And then this one is not quite big enough. Okay. Actually, how big are you? Yeah. All right, so I'm going to take these over to my trimmer and turn them into rectangles of the appropriate size. All right, so there's one. There's two. Candy says I would have just added a third color. Candy, I'm regretting not adding the brown. So here we are, you know. All right, there's three. Okay. So let's talk about how to score these Franken pieces. So if there's a flap that's really tiny like this, I'll score that so it's on the back. Okay. So these are all going to get scored. These are 8 inches by 3.5 inches, and they're going to get scored at 7.5. 7. They're going to get scored at 7. So if you have any little skinny bits, stick those to the back. Okay. All right, so that's all the scoring. So we can take these scraps and put them back. All right. Okay, so now with these, I'm going to run a line of tape across the 7-inch pieces, just one short side. So that's right on the edge. And then we'll run a line of tape across the bottoms of the flaps as well. And the reason I'm doing it like this instead of putting a line of tape on the flap. 2 lines of tape on the flap rather, is because this way I know I won't see any tape next to the hinge, and I can do it this way because the pieces are the same size. I couldn't do this before on the other ones because the pieces were not the same size. Like the Papa Bear, those pieces were 3 different sizes, but if the pieces are the same size, you can do it. All right. Oops. Okay. Put the tape on the wrong side of that one. Because I want this to be, oh, actually, this is not functional tape. This is from when it was taped into that 12 by 12 sheet. So I can just remove this tape. Okay, so now I still have to put tape on it. All right. Okay, so all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put them together, fold it to the back, and burnish. Put them together, fold it to the back, and burnish. Put them together, fold it to the back, and burnish. Okay, so now that they're in this shape, what we're going to do is we're going to chomp them with the large angle, and that's going to turn them into tags. And then we will later on, when we get to the decorating and matting phase, which will be tonight, we can start to, you know, cover these with paper. And once they're covered with paper, they're going to just look like tags. So this is what's going inside each of the large pockets. So they're going to go in here, and that's what's going to fill them. Okay, so they get one Papa Bear, one Mama Bear, and one Baby Bear. And all right, there we go. So that's it for this afternoon. I will be back tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern USA time, which is 5 hours from now. So whatever time it is where you are now, if you're watching this live, just add 5 hours. I'll be back, and we will move to the matting, photo mat, decorating, pattern paper, etc., all that phase. So what we'll be doing when we come back tonight is decorating those inserts and matting the large file folders. Are we going to finish all all 9 inserts? No. So we'll be doing that for probably tonight and next week. But, you know, as you all know, the part that I like the best is the pattern paper part. So that'll be lots and lots of fun. So if you're watching this in the archives, I'll be back tonight. The recording will be posted after. If you're watching this on the YouTube playlist, you can check the playlist for the videos to see them as they've been added. Subscribe to know when I add those photos or those videos. And if you're watching live, thanks for joining me. I hope you had fun. Stay hydrated, stay cool, have fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.